Okay, friends, so we're getting back into Chrome Canvas. Excuse me, sorry. And we're going to open up our drawing, okay, just like this. And right now, all you can see is the drawing layer because I have the picture layer hidden, okay. But we're ready to the point to where we are starting to add color, okay. Now, we have talked about how we have these different layers. Okay, we've got a top layer, a middle layer, and a bottom layer. And our bottom layer is our picture. That's at the very bottom. Okay, our middle layer will be above it. Okay, and that's going to be color. That's what we're going to work on today. And then our top layer will be line. So the cool thing is you'll still be able to see line to kind of help guide you where you need to put those colors. It's going to almost kind of be like a digital coloring book a little bit. But you'll also have the photo to help sort of match those colors, okay? So what you can do, okay, is you're going to want to zoom in, okay? So actually, let's talk about the things that we don't do first, okay? Same things that we didn't do when we were outlining. Number one, we do not rush it, okay? If you go really fast, it's going to be sloppy and it's not going to look good, okay? You're just not going to be happy with the results that you get with your portrait, okay? Number two, do not try and do all your coloring zoomed out like this, okay? Even if you're on the correct layer, okay, and you pick, let's say you wanted a green, okay? If I start, let me go back here. If I start adding color out here, okay, I'm not going to be able to get a really good close fit around where I actually need that color, okay? It's just not going to be as good as it should be. You're going to be outside. You're going to make more work for yourself in the long run if you decide to clean it up. So, and you should be cleaning it up along the way, but you need to zoom in. So zoom in, don't rush it, take your time, okay? Those are the main things not to do. Don't rush and don't work fully zoomed out, okay? So we want to make sure when we're adding color, again, we're on this middle layer, and you want to zoom in to your layers. And the nice thing is when you have, like, let's say I wanted to do this red, okay? I wanted to do this red color. I'm going to use either the marker or the pen, okay? The marker, you can get larger areas of color done, so that might be a better choice for this. But when you go to your palette, okay, let's say that I choose the red from the palette. Let's see how close that is. It's a little bit bright, but it could maybe work. Let's say I don't like that though, okay? I can undo it, and then I can pick a custom color that is close to that red. So maybe I want something that's a little bit darker. So I pull it down just a little bit. Here's the thing to note, okay? Regardless of what color you're using, this right here, this number, okay, that number is going to be really important to keep track of. So what I do, just because I'm kind of old school, I'll have like just a little note, okay, that I put off to the side, and I'll zoom this in so you can see, okay, that I'll put off to the side, and I will write these down. So if this is the color that I end up liking for red, I can put like, I can just put, let me go back to it. There we go. Just write in there hat, red, and then I would write the number, okay? So it'd be like 8E1917, and that will get you the exact number that you need. Now if you're using multiple reds, make sure that you distinguish between them. So this might be hat red dark, okay, hat red medium, hat red light, okay, but write down this number. This number is going to help you, okay? And when you're working with tablet mode, I feel like it's almost easier just to put it on a piece of paper, and then you can, if you want to make sure that you don't lose it, you can take these numbers and put them into like a Google Doc or something, so that way you won't lose those numbers. But these numbers are going to help you big time, especially when you have to close out Canvas and come back to it later. Okay, so that's going to help you out big time. So let's say I like this color. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in this color in the places that I think it needs to go. And I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. I'm going to talk about opacity here in just a minute too. Okay, I'm going to talk about opacity here in just a minute. Let me get this back to where it fits. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to change the size right now. The opacity is how dense the color is. Okay, so let's say I like this color. I'm going to put it in everywhere that I feel like it needs to go. So kind of up to this edge here. All right, and then again, I'm zooming in and out. If I go over my line like this, that's okay. Just take my eraser and I can erase just like that. Okay. And then you just go back to the tool that you were using. Okay, that's kind of the nice thing. Like this. Okay, erase, boom. And you can zoom way in and get, get all those little spots that you need to get. Like that, okay? Just like this. Now, let's say that I like how this is looking. Okay, add some more here. I'm going to just kind of go quick with this, and then I can erase along that edge. It's kind of a nice thing. Sometimes you'll notice you'll have to zoom in a little bit further. Okay, sometimes you don't have to zoom in quite as far. But what you can do is you can always go back and forth with your layers. So you can say, okay, well, how's that looking? I can turn the eyeball off, okay, and it will hide it so I can look and see. And maybe I say, okay, well, that's okay, but maybe my color needs to be a little bit darker. So what I'll do is I'll pull this down a little bit further, and I'm going to write down that new number, okay? So I've got the hat red. I'm going to make hat red dark, okay, and then the number I'm going to write next to it. This is 62100F, just like that, okay, and you can go in here and you can just click on that and type in the number, okay, just like this. So like if I wanted to go back to the original number, I'd just type in the original number. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now though. Okay. So, and you can also copy the numbers too if you need to. Okay. So this is my darker version. What I can do is I can also layer my colors a little bit. So if you want to, you don't have to do this. You can just put the colors next to each other. So like a dark, a medium, a light. But if you want to try and layer colors, almost like you're working with paint, okay, you can kind of do that by changing the opacity. And what the opacity does, you can see the dot. It makes it to where you can kind of see through it. It's sort of transparent. So let's say like in this area, I wanted to have it be a little bit darker. And you see how when it crosses over itself, it gets a little bit darker like that. Okay? You could do that if you want to. You can kind of experiment with it. If you don't like it, just back it up. Okay? Not a big deal. All right, so I'm going to just kind of keep going through this. Okay, maybe I want to look at a skin tone. Okay, I'm going to kind of try and go for the medium tone, not these really high highlights, but something like right in here. Okay, and you can notice this spot, I'm going to move it over here close to my palette so I can get it as close as possible. So I'm going to maybe start here, and I'm going to go custom from there. All right, so I'm looking at this compared to the skin tone, and I'm going to drag it. It looks like I need a little bit more yellow. That's pretty close right there, and maybe just a little bit lighter ish. Okay, and I think that looks good. I'm going to write down the number. Once again, this is a weird habit to get into when you're coloring, but it will help you in the long run. Make sure you write down these numbers. So I'm going to put medium skin, and then I'm going to write the number F9C0B as in boy 3. Okay, just like that. So you can see I'm making a list of my colors. This will help me. Okay, so I'm ready to start kind of putting it in, and I'm going to put this in anywhere that I see medium tones. So, oops. The other thing too, when you switch, make sure that you change the opacity back to where you want it. Okay, so I'm going to put the opacity back all the way up so it's not see-through. Okay, so I'm going to start here, and this is a little bit on the pink side. Maybe it's not exactly what I want, so maybe I'm just going to drag this over a little bit further, like that. Let's try that. It's a little bit too yellow. Maybe there. Close. Okay. And I can always change this as I go too. So I'm going to put this anywhere that I see like kind of these medium values, sort of like this. And look at this. It goes right underneath those lines that we started with. Okay. So I'm going to put this in where I see kind of these medium tones. And then I can erase. Okay. In the spots that it shouldn't be. Then change the size of my brush if I need to. Okay, maybe here's some of my medium tones as well. Oops, make this smaller. Okay, and then I can go to a darker tone. So let's say I just take this and I pull it straight down. Okay, and I can write down the number if I'm happy with it. If I think that's going to be a good call for what I need, I'll write down the number, but I'm going to label it dark skin, so for like shadows, and then number C3A08B, like that. Okay. And then I will go ahead and start blocking that in. So you can see this is where that color is going to go. Now, like I said, you can layer your colors too. So if you want to try, and here's another cool thing, it will keep those recent colors that you've created, but it only keeps 6 of them. So just kind of keep that in mind. You'll need to write those down. So I'm going to go back here and just show you what you can do is you can do something like this. So like, let's say, okay, right in there, I know that I want that to be darker. So you can layer these colors using the opacity. Okay. And you can see how each time you go over it, it gets a little bit darker. And you can see how that looks when you zoom it out. So you can get some fairly natural looking work that way too. Now, another thing you can try if you want to, you don't have to do this, You could also try the chalk. Okay, so let me show you what that could look like. You can kind of sort of blend out these colors a little bit. All right, like so. And then let's see. I'm not a huge fan of this. Some people can make it look really good. Sometimes it works okay. It just depends. But the further along you get, the more accurate you can get these and kind of get it to fade out really well. The chalk too, you can change the opacity of the chalk, so making it to where you can fade it out a little bit easier. And then you go over it more in the places you want it darker. See, and when you zoom out a little bit, it kind of gives you that effect that it's a more smooth transition between your colors. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just kind of taking it section by section, and I would say each one of your colors, you could have multiple variations of every single color because of the way the light bounces and wraps around objects. You're going to have multiple variations. What I would say is at least have a light and a dark version of every color that you're using. You could do a light, medium, and dark, but I wouldn't go much past that, okay? Now, if you're feeling crazy with it and you really want it to be super accurate and you want like 5 different values of each color, you could do that, but it's going to take you a little bit longer, but it will look really, really good too. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Let me make sure I've got a little checklist of things I want to make sure I talk about. Write down your color numbers. Oh yeah, you can vary your line weight too. So when you are working with this, obviously you want to make sure that you use the correct line weight for what you're doing. So like if you're working with hair, for instance, so let's say I want something close to this for this color. Okay, but maybe I want it to be darker. Let's say, I put it right up there. There we go. So that way I can see it. Maybe I'll do that as the base, and I would write this down, okay, and I'd just write eyebrow, okay. Make sure I got my opacity where I want it, okay. So let's say I go over this here, all right, and you can work around. You don't want to leave it like this. You want to clean up those edges, obviously. But what you can do is, let's say you want to add some texture to it, you can change the line weight as well. So let's say I make this a little bit darker here. I can change to a pen, or I can use the marker as well and just make the marker smaller. Or I could use the pen and I could start adding in some of that texture as well. Okay, so you can kind of see how that works. Now, making sure that the lines kind of wrap around the object in the appropriate way is what you want to make sure of. So when you turn off these layers, you just kind of work back and forth between the two and just kind of see how it looks. See if it's looking good, and if it is, then you're off to a good start. And if not, you can always go back and kind of change it. But you kind of have to sort of work with these few tools to try and match your colors well. But like I said, I wouldn't go much past 3 values for each color, okay? Even 2 would be fine, all right? So that's that. Have fun with it. I know it's another 20-minute video. Once again, sorry about that, but yeah, have fun with it. Good luck.